Karen Litfin. I'm a political science professor at the University of Washington, and I teach environmental studies as well. And I've been reading and teaching and writing about international environmental law for about 20 years. And I've studied ozone depletion, climate change, deforestation, all those big issues. And as I look at the world, my sense is that international treaties and top-down government kinds of solutions really aren't going to get us out of the mess that we're in. So I decided that I wanted to see who out there is really trying to live sustainably. So I went around the world looking at ecovillages. These are small, self-contained communities that are trying to live ecologically harmoniously, as well as in harmony socially and economically and even inwardly. Well, I visited about 30 ecovillages around the world, and I did intensive research in 14 of them. And I decided I wanted to see the whole plethora of ecovillages: rural, urban, religious, non-religious, spiritual, poor, rich. I went to ecovillages in North America, Europe, Africa, India, Australia. So I wanted to really see what was happening globally with the movement to live sustainably. I looked at ecovillages from 4 different perspectives: how they live ecologically, how they share their money or don't share their money, their property, the economic aspects, and the community aspects, as well as a spiritual or the worldview kind of approach to an ecovillage. The basic principle of ecological living is to close the circle, to make human systems compatible with ecosystems. Things like, rainwater catchment throughout the community, so that, for instance, in Findhorn in northern Scotland, they processed all the waste for the community, 600 people, in a contraption called a living machine that basically filters the water through reed-based plants and turns out perfectly clean water in the end, rather than sending it to a sewer or into a septic system. One thing that ecovillages, I would say, are modeling very well is how to downsize in times of recession. So what I've found is that people are actually able to live well on a whole lot less money than we think is necessary in our culture. And they're able to do this because they share a lot. So for instance, at Ecovillage at Ithaca in upstate New York, people shared something like, several hundred acres of common land. So they had hiking trails, cross-country skiing trails in the winter, a common farm, and yet they had their own private homes. They had all kinds of amenities that we would all love to have, but if you share the land, you share the resources, it makes it more possible to have more. Humanity evolved in a village-scale environment. Villages are the way people have lived pretty much since the agricultural revolution. In our big cities, we have somewhat forgotten that. And so this is really about bringing us back into some sense of local, village-scale relationships, so we actually know the people that we're interacting with. So I went to Kolofifa, which is a network of villages in West Africa, and also Sarvodia, which is a network of villages in Sri Lanka. Now these are traditional rural villages in the developing world that are incorporating eco-village principles. There's something very deeply social about a third world village. People greet one another constantly on the street. You just don't pass somebody by without saying hello. Constant connection. And that's something you see in the rural developing world that you tend not to see so much in this country. I don't want to be glorifying ecovillages because there are definite problems. For a village-scale economy to really work, you need a lot of solidarity. particularly when it's possible to buy things more cheaply on the outside than it is to buy them on the inside. So for instance, Crystal Waters, beautiful community in Australia, northeastern Australia. Wonderful climate, designed by engineers to have an incredible hydrology system. So the water system works really well there, but the social infrastructure is weaker. And so when I was there, most of the farmers were in the process of leaving. And the reason they were leaving is because they couldn't make a living. And the reason they couldn't make a living is because many people were buying their farm products, their meat, their dairy, their vegetables, in town because it was cheaper. Now, having said that, I also saw that the communities were working to resolve the problem, but still, it's not a perfect, idyllic life in an eco-village. Visiting 14 eco-villages on 5 continents, I was amazed to find how much commonality there really is. You would think eco-villages or villages in rural West Africa and Hollywood might not have all that much in common, but in actuality there's a lot that they have in common. A sense of sharing that goes not only to sharing your lives and your feelings, your emotions, and your everyday life with people, but also sharing the planet with other species and the rest of life. So there's a sense of belonging that comes with an eco-village. I would also say that eco-villages are charting a way towards what I call a politics of yes. One of the reasons that I've become disenchanted with international environmental politics is that so much of it is about saying no to the thing that we don't want, rather than saying yes to the thing that we want. Eco-villages are finding ways of living that really work. And in that way, they're providing models, examples for the rest of us. So you might think that now that I've gone around the world and looked at all these eco-villages, that I'm proposing that we all go out and join an eco-village or start an eco-village, and I don't think that's the way to go. The reason is because we already have plenty of resources where we live, right here in our own cities and suburbs. We don't need to go out and create eco-villages. We just need to take the basic principles of living and apply them to our lives where we are here today. This will be the first book that I've written for a non-academic audience. Frankly, I believe sustainability is too important to be left to the academics and the experts. It's really about ordinary people, about my own life, your own life, and how we're living. Eco-villages give us some models, give us some examples. So my hope is that this book will inspire others as it's inspired me,